What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is my first video on this podcast, and which is called Off the Field. In this podcast, what you're expected is what we'll be putting out in the next few videos is a series where we'll be discussing and analyzing all the squads of all the respective 8 teams in the IPL. And since the IPL is around the corner, I'm quite excited for this. And in today's video, we'll be specifically discussing the RCB team and a potential squad or a potential 11 if we can determine one. But in today's episode, we have with us Neil, which is one of my school friends. And yeah, anything you want to say, Neil, before we start off?
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. So let's get right into it. I'll quickly pull up the RCB squad. We have Moin Ali, Yuzvendra Chahal, Pawan Deshpande, AB de Villiers, Shivam Dubey, Aaron Finch, Gurkirat Singh Maan, Virat Kohli, Mohammad Siraj, Chris Morris, Pawan Negi, Devdutt Padikkal, Parthiv Patel, Josh Philippi, Kane Richardson, Shahbaz Ahmed, Navdeep Saini, Dale Steyn, Isuru Udana, Washington Sundar, Umesh Yadav. So this was the RCB squad. Now, based on this, I think one of the biggest conundrums that RCB have at this point is the overseas squad and which ones should they play. And obviously, the discussion that's going around is based on the pitch in the UAE. You choose your overseas either between Isuru Udana, Chris Morris, or Dale Steyn, or whoever it is for that matter. So, as per you, which other overseas players you feel should be playing in the starting 11 for RCB?
So for me, AB is a straight pick. He's been your main batsman for
Absolutely.
a few years now. So very hard to drop him, obviously. And he'll be playing for me. Then I think you need someone to balance the side with both bat and ball. So I think Moeen fits in very well in the middle. Because first of all, in UAE, the pitches are going to be quite slow and the grounds are quite big as compared to India. So Moeen can do quite well with the ball, and also we know his batting prowess as well. We've seen it for England, we've seen it for RCB last year as well. So I think to balance the side, Moeen would fit in quite well into the team because he provides you with both batting and bowling. So that's your second pick, and then for the last two picks, I think since RCB has always had the problem of having quite a weak bowling attack. Other than Chahal, I think not anyone no one is able to consistently perform for RCB. So I think you need two overseas fast bowlers because you have the spin attack with your Indian guys. So I think you need to have two overseas fast bowlers.
Okay.
So I think you definitely have to pick Isuru Udana because RCB has always lacked quality death bowling. They've had a lot of players. They've had Chris Wokes in the past, but no one has been able to perform consistently. That's why you see RCB changing their squad quite a lot each year. I think this year they dropped all of their overseas players. So
I feel
I think you would have to
have been dropped. What do you feel? I feel they should have kept Stoinis.
Stoinis is I think
He done decently.
I think they should have at least retained. They should have retained at least some of the foreign players that they bought. I think they bought a whole lot of them last year.
Yeah.
And they say they dropped everyone. So I didn't see the point of that.
I think that's one of the things that RCB lacks consistency with keeping players and backing them, because De Grandom,
Right.
I mean, in any of their players, man, if it's De Grandom's first time coming into the IPL, obviously there's likely to be that degree of pressure that you're facing as an overseas player who's been bought for quite a few bags, and it can be pressurizing in that sense. So you must have that slight bit of consistency when you're dealing with your overseas players. So that's something that RCB's always lacked.
So I think that other teams actually benefit from their lack of backing the players. So when the new players come into the IPL for the first season, they actually learn from the mistakes after the first season, and then when they're dropped and picked by the other teams, they already have that experience of playing once in the IPL. So if you see players like KL Rahul, who I think started with SRH and RCB. I
Yeah.
think now you can see how consistently he's performing for Punjab and also India.
Yeah.
So I think that consistency with backing players is a problem. I think not only in RCB, I think in India as well. I think, especially for the middle order batsmen, there's a lot of chopping and changing. So that's a
Absolutely.
thing that needs to be changed.
Um, Another thing you said we should. Uh, so you said you don't want Aaron Finch at the top. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I wouldn't be playing Aaron Finch at the top, even though I think just a few hours back, Mike Hassan announced that Finch is
Yeah.
going to be opening with Virat Kohli. I think they're falling into the same trap. They're going to have explosive batting. So instead of Gale, now you can see it's basically Finch. So Finch, Virat, AB de Villiers, high class batting lineup. But then the bowling will take a hit then, because if you're playing two foreign batsmen plus Moeen Ali, then your bowling does not have any international players there.
But the positive thing about having Finch at the top is it takes a lot of pressure out of Virat Kohli's back because if you see if he's opening with someone like a Devdutt Padikkal or a or a Parthiv Patel, they don't have the best history of having a good strike rate or them going all guns blazing off the bat. So that puts plenty of pressure on Virat Kohli as the experienced batsman who should be going after the bowling, but that's not Virat Kohli's natural style of play, and um, that's not leveraging Virat Kohli's position as an opener. That's what I feel. So having Finch at the top, I would personally have Finch at the top because he can take a lot of pressure off Virat Kohli because of his natural style of playing, which is going all guns blazing off the bat. And secondly, with the leadership group, he can really add to that as well, having an extra pair of eyes to for field setting and just being aside Virat Kohli. It can enhance his it can take a little bit of pressure off his back because he's already not having won a trophy, and whatever the analysts are saying, it must be bothering him at some point, and having an extra person in the leadership group can really help him. That's what I feel. But Isuru Udana, do you think he makes the playing 11? Because I personally feel he doesn't have, as if he's being picked as an all rounder, he doesn't do justice to his batting as much as he does to his bowling. That's what I feel. What do you think?
I think RCB will not play him in the playing 11. I think they're going to play Chris Morris and Dale Steyn, because obviously they bought Chris Morris for a hefty sum. So I think he is going to fit in, and Steyn has obviously been good with the new ball for them.
A little
So
overrated, isn't it, Chris Morris? Because I mean, obviously RCB had to buy someone and they went with Morris. That's a different thing. But Morris
I think they
has,
were trying for Pat Cummins, but they didn't
yeah,
get Pat Cummins.
but
So
he's not. I don't think he's worth the 10 crores that he's gotten. I mean, he hasn't done anything extraordinary in the few opportunities that he's gotten for Delhi in last season. He was whacked quite a bit with the when he was bowling and didn't do anything valuable with the bat as well. So I don't know if he's a valuable pick or not, but definitely stay in
I
with.
think the
Hmm?
I think a few years ago, he would have been worth this much, because I was listening to a few batsmen speak, and they were saying that Chris Morris was bowling rockets a few years back, like at
That was KL
150, and it
Rahul.
was very
KL
hard
Rahul
to
said that.
face him. Yeah, in that show, yeah, right. So I think a few years back he would have been worth this amount of money, and he was actually quite good with the bat as well earlier. But
Yeah,
I think his performance has dropped now. I think his speed has gone down, and his batting prowess has also reduced a lot. So I think he's definitely not worth the 10 crores.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I wouldn't play him personally, because
Wait, so okay.
you already have a spin bowling all rounder. So I think if you were playing in India and then you had different pitches, like the Wankhede or Bangalore, then you could switch and bring Morris in, because you need an extra seamer there. But I think especially because you're playing in the UAE, you wouldn't want to play too many seamers. You want to have a more packed spin attack. So
What's your perspective about Gurkirat Singh Man? Because he got one opportunity against a couple opportunities against SRH last. It was last season. I'm not sure where they played against SRH, and Shimron Hetmar actually did quite a bit in that match. Scored 70 odd,
Yeah,
and RCB ended
yeah,
up winning the game. So with the given few opportunities, Gurkirat Man has done complete justice to his position at number 5 or number 6 or whatever he played at. So do you think his inclusion is a must for RCB?
it's actually quite surprising that he's still in the team.
Really?
Looking at everyone who's been dropped, like as we talked about the backing part.
Yeah.
Um, they've removed a lot of players. They've let go of Sarfaraz. They've let go of Mandeep Singh. There were a lot of players in that RCB lineup who were there, but they were now dropped. So I think Gurkirat still being the, and I think Gurkirat also bowls a bit of off spin. So I
Yeah.
think he will be included. Like I think he's a good player, but I don't think there's space in the top order for him to bat. I think he'll have to bat at the
Wait,
usual five
so
or six position as a
ideally,
finisher.
let's go for what RCB would potentially pick. So I feel they'll go with Finch and Kohli at the top.
Yeah,
Uh,
that they're gonna do. So that is gonna
who
happen.
bats at number 3 though?
So then I think they're gonna go with Devdutt Padikkal because you or maybe Parthiv Patel because you need a keeper.
Okay.
So I think one of the two. I think Finch and Virat opening is not the correct
I feel
combination
Parthiv
because
should open and Kohli should come 3, De Villiers
correct,
4,
correct. That's what I was going to say.
maybe Gurkirat Man 5, and then you can play Morris or whoever, whichever
Mohit
all
Ali.
rounder at 6.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
or you could play Morris at
right.
7. You can do Washington Sundar or Shivam Dubey at 6 if you want.
Washington Sundar or Pawan Negi, whatever, depends
Yeah,
on the.
whichever Indian all rounder you want to go for. Then UZ comes in, Stain, UZ Stain.
Yeah, I don't see Shivam Dubey playing because it's as I said before, UA is turning track, so they might play a few spinners. Obviously, it depends on who they're playing in the bowling as well. So if they're playing Chahal, and then I think they'll have Washington Sundar and Pawan Negi. But depends. It also depends on the opposition that they're playing against. If they have too many left-handers, they might not want to play Pawan Negi.
Absolutely.
So and then they
Depends on the
might play
batting lineup
Shivam
they're
Dube.
bowling. Yeah.
So, yeah, so that depends obviously on the opposition. But I would see I think a few more spinners playing. So
Okay. Um, Overall, what do you think are RCB's chances this year? Because every year you come out and say RCB's got one of the best squads in the tournament. We always hope that they
yeah,
do justice to their potential, but they never end up doing as much as we expect them to do. And
right.
as we have mentioned earlier, it's probably because of the consistency of them being told that, oh, you are 100% playing, uh,
Yeah,
and them having to prove themselves time and time again that we are worth for this batting position or this bowling position in the playing 11. Um, for them
yeah,
having to prove it time and time again is always a matter of pressure. So that could be a potential reason for them not doing well and not living up to the expectation.
yeah.
So what do you personally think are RCB's chances this year?
I think it's going to be the same story again, especially because if they're going to be playing Finch, Moeen, and ABD, that's going to strengthen the batting a lot. But I don't see how that's going to improve the bowling attack. I mean, obviously, our Indian players would be a lot more experienced. Saini, Umesh, they're going to learn from their mistakes, obviously. But the fact still remains that they don't have quality death bowling. They have Stain, who's very good with the new ball, but I don't think he's that
No,
great
he
at death
isn't. He
bowling.
bowled in the BBL. I feel I sent you a couple clips of, or you sent me a couple clips of him bowling at the death or him at the start in the BBL, and he got whacked like anything, like
Yeah,
1.2 in
even in the
22.
IPL, remember when ABD he was playing for when Stain was playing for SRH, then ABD hit him for I think 28 runs in an over
Yeah, that
in
was
the
Stain at
death.
his peak. That too. So
Exactly, and now he's quite old now, so
yeah.
I don't think I think he's going to go. He's bowled 3 or 4 on the trot at the start.
Hmm.
And I don't see him bowling at the death. So I think Sani, and then if they're picking, I don't think they'll pick Udana, obviously. But if they're playing Morris, I think Morris will bowl at the death with Sani.
It's like it's playtime and it's free time. In the dance, yeah, they have to talk a glance, so we stepping out the rain.